Bonjour, bonsoir à tous, bienvenue, welcome to this week's Wada Forum, which has been taken over by the hackathon. But no, in a good way. We're really excited about the hackathon and really thrilled to be partnering with Prisma. We have them joining us here today to talk more about the details. Why are we all here? To hear the details, get our answers to all of our burning questions. Next slide. So, really, our agenda will keep the opening light, not too many announcements to go over today, but the focus today will really be on the Tech Summit Hackathon, the taster session. So, this is the second taster session. Our final taster session will be tomorrow. And thanks, everyone. That we'll have questions and answers at the end. Next. All right, this map is just a little reminder of our current footprint as WADA, and this QR code scans to some additional knowledge bases where you can find more info, SingularityNet, Intersect, Cardano, etc. for anyone who wants to dive in a bit deeper. There's some great resources if anything piques your interest that you haven't heard of, a way to study for next time. As usual fashion, we will start with our statement of purpose from the WADA perspective, what is bringing us here today. And I'd love if maybe someone from the Prisma team would read the English version, and then I can take the French. So maybe Delphi, would you read our statement of purpose?
Yes, of course. Thank you for inviting me. It says to elevate underrepresented groups through the application of technology and invest in a more equitable future. A very powerful mission.
Yeah.
Notre mission, élever les groupes sous-représentés grâce à l'application de la technologie et investir dans un avenir plus équitable. Pour nos francophones parmi nous. All right, we don't have any updates. There is no Catalyst voting results yet, so we'll jump right into the hackathon. So we're going to start with just a couple of us talking about setting the tone for this, right? I think from my perspective, hackathon is a buzzword, right? What is a hackathon? It can mean a lot of different things. But I'll just back up to one of the things that really brings us all together and what WADA started off of, which is Catalyst. Amazing resource, a platform where anyone can come in, put an idea out there, and get funding. And that's awesome. It's an amazing opportunity. But once you get in, once you're hooked in Catalyst, how many people here have submitted a project to Catalyst? You can do like an emoji or something. Raise your hand if you're on video. Yeah, a lot of us, right? How many of you have been disappointed by Catalyst? Have you submitted something that didn't get funding? Maybe we got some, we didn't get some. But it's true. And I think as Catalyst has evolved, the challenge categories have also become harder to navigate, right? I think a concern I've heard a lot in the last funding round is kind of where do I put something that did get some funding initially, but it's not big enough to go in products. So it doesn't qualify for concepts, which needs like never funded before projects. Doesn't qualify in partners because it's not big enough. And so there's a gap there. And so a lot of projects that start in Catalyst kind of die because there's not a good follow-up that can catch a lot of these things. So this kind of gap is one of the ways I see this hackathon helping. It's more about a whole journey that helps you to both form the idea, think about the available resources you have, use them in the best way possible. And we're, honored to have the Prisma team here to kind of guide us through that process and help in that journey. So we're not just focused on maybe the financial aspect, but more of a holistic approach that hopefully can, incubate these projects for a long time. So now, I'll invite Nana, Safo, and Darlington over to also talk about, your experiences with hackathons, Catalyst, and, what you're thinking about with this hackathon.
Was it Samuel or Nana Safo?
Yeah,
Did we
Nana,
just put
Safo,
on and
yeah,
Samuel? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I thought
and
we're putting
you,
people on the
and
spot. Okay.
Darlington.
Um, anyway, okay, good. Well, Catalyst, Cardano veteran here. I'm sure these other two people are as well. So we've seen all there is to see in Catalyst, and probably like many of you also struggling with Cardano development. Doesn't matter, what's your favorite language or whatever. Yeah, Catalyst's been good and sometimes not so good. Depends on the day and the fun. But the one thing that Catalyst has enabled for sure is just the ability for me personally to do a lot of development on Cardano, pretty much full time, which has been really really great. I love to hear from my partner in crimes here. What kind of things have
Yeah.
Catalyst been able to make happen on your side?
Uh, yeah. So just like you say, Catalyst is also giving us some opportunity in one or the other. For me, working directly with WADA and sometimes leading projects or putting proposals in on behalf of WADA and leading them. Typically, I was involved in the Fund 12 project where we sought to expand Cardano's reach in Africa. We got funding for it, and that project is even wrapping up this month. Those events give us opportunities to reach out to some more, get to every nook and cranny in Africa and sell the idea of Web3 and, emerging technology there. And it's been exciting meeting new people, talking to people all the way in Tanzania. This was true when I got the chance to meet Abdul, for instance. He's a fantastic person from Lagos. I bond with him even though we haven't met personally, but these are opportunities that Catalyst bring to us, gets you to meet new people in working out projects and things like that. And that is the power of networking in the community that we find ourselves. So the little experience I have working for WADA and WADA working with Catalyst and winning projects and going about it.
Yeah, and I mean, despite having to meet new people and having to be involved in several other projects, the other part that is really interesting is even about how this whole Cardano Africa Tech Summit has evolved, right? I mean, from the days, it has always been about Cardano Foundation. I mean, officially, it started off with IOG and then handed over to Cardano Foundation. And that is where, these yearly summits have been operated from. So what usually happens is that for each and every year, they select a particular region, country, or city, and then they host the main summit event over there, and then they allow
Yeah.
virtual locations to also host some of these summits in their own way. Of course, they do support them with some form of financial aids and stuff like that. And as WADA, it has always been a part of our processes because we have always onboarded hubs and individuals who are passionate about this ecosystem, and through our guidance and our teaching, they've been able to you know of course, with the little support they receive from the CF, they're able to host these local summits each and every year, right? And I think the news that was shocking, or let me say the shocking news, was really when the Cardano Foundation decided to not do this local um, summit anymore, but rather focus more on the main
The
events. And
main event. Yeah.
it was a big blow to we as Africans, because how then do we get to engage and also be a part of this whole experience? And through this same catalyst that we are talking about, of course, a proposal was submitted, WADA, Catalyst Africa Town Hall, right? And then through that, they were able to scout about five different regions, and finally came up with Nairobi, Kenya, where Darlington here is actually representing, and that
Yeah.
is where we are going to have the 2026 African summit in February. So it's been a long journey, but the long and short of it all is that, in as much as Catalyst sometimes have its own downfalls, usually I would say the good sides are always interesting and enticing to know about. And it is basically, I can say it is basically the main power behind this whole Southern Africa Tech Summit 2026 that you are going to experience. So do brace for it, and then I hope that we're going to have a very nice event. So far as we are in the hands of Darlington in Nairobi.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Safo. And since this is a taster, maybe we would just do a little bit of, development on Cardano too. So Catalyst typically powers a lot of the development and building. But sometimes when people think development or building on Cardano, they think, writing these very complicated code that nobody understands. But there's a wide range of building, right? You can build on Cardano using JavaScript. I would love to hear if Nana Safo or Samuel have program interacted with a smart
Uh,
contract or written a smart contract in something that's not Haskell or JavaScript.
JavaScript, no, not for me.
Okay.
And I'm not sure Nana Safo too. We are not dev guys, but just a genuine
Okay, which
knowledge
is
about it.
perfect. So, have
Yeah.
either of you minted an NFT? How did you do it?
No, I have not. Well, I think I've done it before. I remember I minted one Cardano Summit NFT some time back. I was in like
Oh,
2020.
nice.
Yeah. I
What
don't
about
even
you,
know where it is
Samuel?
at the moment.
Right, and maker in the
Man,
chat.
not really for me,
Oh, great. Someone
Yeah,
mentioned that. That's the keyword. Endmaker, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Endmaker is very good. There's a lot of tools that you don't always have to be super technical to build on Cardano. Bunch of stuff coming out of Hong Kong and Asia actually for tooling. And you can write smart contracts in Python, JavaScript, Rust, Haskell if you're that crazy. Um, Go. All of these now have stuff to make you stay in those languages and write smart contract without having to go learn a new language. Obviously, there's Ikin that most people like. It's a language that's built specifically for Cardano development. But the one thing that I will leave people with when you're thinking about development, maybe you think less development and more building. And sometimes building does not mean writing software. Sometimes it means using other tools to provide solutions, right? That's not about code. And sometimes these tools, there's even a tool that you can click and drag and build stuff without
Yeah,
having to write code from
yeah,
IOG.
yeah.
That's just a taste. Look for more information on as we sort of go through the enrollment process. Did you want to add something, Samuel?
Not really. I am
Maybe
more
what
excited
building
about.
means for you on Cardano.
Well, maybe I
Say
could
that again.
jump. Sorry, maybe I could just jump in here to talk about, how this aligns, why we started talking about Catalyst and now we're talking about this. I see,
Yeah,
Wada's early days we were supporting with proposal writing into Catalyst, and it's all about, empowering local projects to, access this resource of funding. And that's really what this hackathon is about as well, is going, stepping way down to the most local level, and building projects from that local level and giving them access to this platform and access to, present in Nairobi as the ultimate prize, so that your project can get more visibility and can get support and, mentorship, to really continue and to make a real impact in the world.
yeah.
So maybe I think we've talked enough. I know everyone's like, okay, so now what? Like, what's the now what? Now, so I want to pass over to the Prisma team, and we're joined today with Delphi and Tabs to really talk us through some more of the specifics. So I will
And
pass it.
and and Megan, sorry, before types in Delphi come, I just want to say that voting will be out soon for Catalyst. People's hearts are going to be broken. Those who will not get their proposal go through. Don't worry, if you don't get your proposal go through, come here, join this hackathon and implement
Or
the
even
idea
if you
here.
do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay, over to you, Tabs in Delphi.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Pleasure to be here again. Can you all hear me okay? Is my audio coming through all right? Awesome.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Great. I will most likely be one of those heartbroken people when the Catalyst results come out. We submitted 4 from Prisma ourselves, and at the moment on Catalyst Explorer, they're all saying likely skipped. So the grieving process has begun.
Okay, so Taj, if you don't get funding, come and build it on the summit, on the tech summit.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, what we would have used the funding for is to extend what we're going to bring for the summit in the hackathon process. But we'll just try and source that from inspiration, which we're pretty good at. I'm going to run through the hackathon process at a high level again. I just want to tie it to what's already been said in the previous section, which is that this whole process is really to surface as many strong examples of real-world use cases of Cardano. And the way that we're going to do that is by facilitating you to identify in your communities a very, very specific intervention that can be made into those systems, and to do that with a Cardano integration. So I will run through the process at a high level, step by step, and then jump to Q&As pretty much straight away. We showed this last week. I've tweaked it a little bit just to highlight some things, but it's essentially 3 phases between now and December 15th. The first phase are these taster calls where you can get to know us a little bit, see what's up, and sign up. That's very important. There's sign-up deadlines for the hub. The hub's on October 13th, and participants have a little bit of extra time, but you should aim for the 13th as well. And now is the time to ask any questions, to work out, is this for me? And what would I get out of this process? Why should I take part? And then to organize yourselves as quickly as possible to sign up and sort of activate your participation. Second phase, enrollment. Delphi's going to talk about this in a moment, but this is a series of calls to onboard 1 level deeper into this program. You'll learn about the content and the things needed for the next phase, which is the hackathons, which is where you really dive into the action itself of organizing and being part of these hackathons. That's where you'll be identifying real-world use cases and building prototypes, hacking on them. There is more phases afterwards, like the pre-summit intensive happening in Nairobi, and the summit itself, of course. But I've left the timeline here as it is for now, because at the end of December is when the critical sort of input from you guys is needed, and then the full timeline is available at that link, which is highlighted in the bottom right, docs.wada.org/roadmap, and it includes some more stages. So for now, step 1, these taster calls, like I said, really important to sign up. You can do that by visiting this link here, cats.wada.org, and there you have the registration buttons to click through to sign up. These tickets end at the end of day on October 16th. Please make sure to do it before then. You can even do it now if you haven't done it already. I would highly recommend it. And once you have signed up, you can then start the official enrollment process, which is where you go a level deeper And Delphi's going to tell you about that now. So over to Delphi.
Thank you, Tabs. So the enrollment has a very specific purpose, which is to onboard you or train us in what we're going to be doing in the hackathons, because the hackathons are self-organized, which is very, very powerful. So the step-by-step of that organization is going to be sort of taught and trained during the enrollment calls. And this is, I want to say something about the enrollment calls, is that we are calling hub leads and hubs and participants as well. So it's not one or the others, it's everyone. And the idea is that the more that you go through them, it's going to be easy to do the hackathon. Your project is going to be much more impactful, and then hence most likely to be at Nairobi in the summit. What? We're going to be training hub leaders to hold these groups and teams that are going to be sort of unfolding from the projects that they're going to be doing. And then learn a little bit of what is to come, like why, or my project needs to be very speaking about the voice of the community, and it's going to be a challenge that my community is walking now. So how can I make it in such a way that it becomes very powerful, not only to me, for my team, but also my community? So that's when community identification of local problems is really, really important. And that's the enrollment phase. It's not going to be difficult at all, but it's 3 calls that you're going to have on the 16th of October, on the 23rd of October, on the 30th. And from that on, from the 1st of November on, you have the hackathons. Tabs, do you want to tell them a little bit about the hackathons phase? You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to pause before we jump into the next phase and say, what's the difference between the signups and the enrollments? It might feel a lot the same or similar because they're both filling out a form, but really they are quite different. So the way that you can think of that is the signups is like getting your ticket and signing your name at the door, and the enrollment is then like entering into the building and joining your first workshop. It's much more active participation. That's where you really map yourself onto a role and start developing your own pathway through the system. So it's really important difference. The hackathons. So these hackathons are serving the purpose of showcasing as many truly exceptional and amazing projects at the Cardano Africa Tech Summit. The way that we have designed these hackathons, like I was mentioning at the beginning, is for you to explore your neighborhoods and really identify from your local context how you can make a very specific intervention to unlock new capabilities. That's how we think we will generate the most meaningful and most complete projects to showcase. And this is really the heart of the journey. It's where it will feel very busy, very active, and you'll be having to coordinate a lot with your hubs to engage in that process, and we'll be offering our facilitation and support as much as we can be. We approach hackathons very holistically, as Megan was referring to at the beginning. Yes, it's roughly 5 to a team, and the reason for that is because we see teams as a living organization. Whereas a conventional kind of VC-backed incubator might want to see just 2 teams, 2 people in a team, because they're looking for kind of the most reduced possible to invest in. We want to see this as like an interdisciplinary collaborative. And so recognizing that there's many capacities that are needed to make up one whole organization. That's why we're encouraging you to invite artists, local community leaders, teachers, students, because they can each bring a different perspective into this organization. And that's what can give you the means to evolve and move forwards. They will be regionally situated. they all have a kind of place-based focus, and that's why the hub role is very important. We've had some questions of can we sign up even if there isn't a hub in our area, and we'll touch on that again at the end. I won't go into that for now. Prototyping systemic interventions. I keep using this terminology because it's kind of difficult to reduce it any less than that, any more than that. You can say product, but really it's about engaging in systems. And that's why this whole lead up to the hackathon might feel a little bit different, might feel a little bit unusual, and like there's a lot of unknowns. That's because we're trying to work in a way that's very systemic. And not constraining things too much for you. And of course, they will be integrating Cardano, maybe even AI, sure, and approaching it from a regenerative systems design perspective. I won't go too much into the how for now, but it's action oriented. So you can expect to be hearing us say, yes, literally go and reach out to those companies. Yes, do involve those community members. Yes, the data from walking around your neighborhood is really important. So it's that kind of quality to this program. There is then the intensive, and the way that this will work is the hackathons are there for you to form teams. And then, although we would absolutely love for you all to be there in Nairobi, that's really difficult for us to do. And so we're selecting the top 5 teams to come in person to present their projects at Nairobi. What we're really looking for, and evaluation is another domain which we can get into another time, but what we're really looking for is for you to engage as deep as you can do into inquiring into your own systems, learning about how to work with those systems in your local context, and really the use case in terms of how specifically does the app relate with the system, what capabilities are unlocked, and all of that will depend on how much understanding you can generate for yourselves of your local context.
Tabs, can I add one little thing?
Please.
I was thinking that maybe this sounds a little bit abstract for most people. And if you go back to the session that we had on the 2nd of October, there was a participant that's called Hardin, and he presented his own project. So if you want to have sort of a little bit of an example of what a project could be, that's one. And tomorrow we're having another guest that he's going to be speaking about his own project and how he went through ideating this project. That could be another example of what we are aiming towards.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to be opportunist about that interjection and say that the link down here previously had a capital R. It needed to be a lowercase r. So if you tried that link already, please try it again with a lowercase r and it should now work. Thank you. Sorry about that. Intensives. Yes, the intensives are, like the name suggests, really intense. I'm still recharging from the last one in Accra. A key difference in these programs are it's about really mobilizing emergence. And that can happen best by focusing on decision making. And so we bring in some frameworks, how to make decisions as a group, and that can really bring a lot of energy in together. It relates with things like roles, so that each person feels like they can contribute fully from their role. And there's a lot of design that goes into this, but we try to make it really as emergent and full of experiential learning. The experience itself is what you will learn from. And like Delphi was saying, Echo Harding and Abdul Rahman do a great job of sharing that experience with you from what happened in Accra. Then the summit, and then that's it. So I haven't included the slide on the summit today, and I'll just jump for an overview of this whole process again, what I've just spoken about. Like I say, I haven't corrected that one yet. You can see the whole roadmap on the docs. And thank you very much. Please do check out the recording from last week. Echo Harding's section was really interesting, and I'll share some links in the docs in the chat now, which offer resources for those projects as well. That's all from me. So I'll hand back to Megan.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Prisma team, Delphi and Tabs. That was a really great overview. So now I think we really want to focus on, what's missing, what questions do you all have, and let's get everything answered for you. Olivier, I see your hand is up. Do you want to take the first question?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, and greetings to everyone. I'm Olivier from Goma. Yeah, first of all, I apologize because I didn't attend last sessions, but I have one question. So, about latest solutions which are requested in hackathons, I want to know what kind of solutions. So, whether, for example, if they can be allowed to add, let's say, features on Web2 applications, or if you are requested almost new ideas. So I want to know something about it. Thank you.
Yeah, Tabs, did you, I think basically about, we're not setting the challenges yet. And you could talk about how that comes out of the enrollment.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the enrollment is designed to bring you into relationship with the systems of your local place. And that's important because it's from there that you work back to what's needed. What contribution am I going to make? In that way, you're coming up with the categories or the tracks of your own hackathon. It would be very different if we said, okay, build for AI applied to medicine, or build for Web3 applied to accounting, which kind of is. And that wouldn't give you the freedom to work on something that's really important to you. I was just talking with Abdul Rahman from Accra yesterday, and it was this morning actually, and we were discussing what's the real difference that participating in this program has made for him. And he said, ever since I was little, I've been noticing flooding in Accra as something that I would like to address. And now it's not just a dream, now he's really playing a stronger role in it. And that wouldn't have been possible if we said to him what he should work on. So the enrollment period is for you to really try and explore that as much as you can do. I hope that answered your question.
I saw some thumbs up from other people. Oh, there we go. The round of applause. Yeah, I think it's, just to re-emphasize, it's really like taking a bottom-up approach, not a top-down approach where we're imposing, categories. It's forming those teams and sensing what are the emerging problems that really need to be solved. Let me scan through the chat. Okay, so I see a question about prizes. Maybe I can take this one. So there's different kind of phases to think about with the prizes. On the one, kind of the initial, and maybe we could pull up that roadmap tabs if you wouldn't mind. Because I like to have that visual up when I'm explaining things. It orients me. So right now we're in kind of this virtual space. So if we think about the hub selection, see these green dots in the middle. This is an opportunity for local hubs to be selected for hosting a local hackathon. So there would be a financial component to that where we would provide a stipend for each hub to select to host a hackathon. So that's one kind of aspect to it. And then within those local hackathons, there will also be prizes for, the top teams from a local group, as well as, we're exploring participation prizes in ADA to kind of align with the WADA philosophy of, encouraging your participation through some kind of small ADA prizes. And then, the big kind of after these blue dots into the next phase is really 5 teams being represented in Nairobi at this intensive where those projects get particular incubation and an opportunity to showcase at the Africa Tech Summit, at the Cardano Africa Tech Summit, as well as that incubator hackathon. And sending teams from that home also with prizes to continue their work. I don't know if there's anyone on the WADA team who wanted to add anything to that answer, but then I see a lot more questions popping up in the chat, so let me look quickly. Okay, hackathons must be in person. This is a good question. Maybe I'll let the Prisma team take it, or do you want me to answer?
Megan, I was writing in the chat that we always encourage people to meet because there is a moment in the hackathon that people will gather as a team. And then that's a lot of collaboration happening and collaborative learning. So we always encourage them to see each other, to walk the local communities and so on. But the hackathons can be online. So we have those things over there. So we suggest one thing that would be the best sort of case scenario, but they can be online, of course.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just jump back to kind of in terms of what we're offering. What we're offering the stipend for is for those on-person gatherings, just acknowledging the logistics needed for that. So that's something we'll decide soon in terms of how much energy you put towards that. But as Delphi's saying, we're not using that hackathon selection as an elimination criteria for anyone. Everyone is still invited to participate virtually and to kind of form virtual groups. Just unfortunately, as far as the available funding that we have for this, we wanted to support where we could with local groups that wanted to meet in person. And of course, there has to be a limit with everything. So. I think Sadhu's hand went up first. You're on mute though, if you're speaking, Sadhu.
Right. Megan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for that brief presentation and clarification. Indeed, we initially planned to hop a call with the team to get more clarification, but today's call is also a great one, as it has given us more direction on what we need to do. On our part, that is to see on the Cardano Ghana community. I just want to seek clarification when it comes to the selection of the hubs. About is it going to be based on the number of people who are registering from, let's say, on our end, and if that's the case, how many people are we looking to so that we'll be able to qualify for selection to host this hackathon? Because during our backdoor talks with Mustafa, we want to partner with one Ethereum guys who are in the Arbitrum hacker booth. Probably some of you might come across it on the X. They have a nice app, and then the developers are also great here, but they're also here in Tamale. So we want to partner with them. We were with them at the university, so they are doing great job at the Ethereum blockchain. So we want to partner their community. I mean, the devs in their community for this hackathon. So we wanted to find out how many people are we targeting for a hub to be selected, and then probably the hackathon is going to be a day event or 2 or 3, because hackathon normally either a day or two. Thank you.
Sure. And maybe Tabs, you want to take that one? Thanks.
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks for such a great question, Sedu. So the way that I would say that is we're estimating roughly for a 40 person capacity per hackathon. So if you see below the blue dots, it says at 40 persons capacity each. It doesn't need to be that way, but that's how we're holding roughly for you to aim for one hackathon. Now, if you're a hub with relatively few people around you and you feel like you can't make it to that 40 person number, I would still really recommend applying and to put an emphasis on how you see your role as a hub in your place. Because what we're looking for equally as much as how many people you can sign up is how rooted are you? How much are you in touch with what this place really cares about? And how much are you able to be responsible to that from your role as a hub? Because if you can bring in 30 people, but they're all super passionate and they're going to be super engaged and really wanting to go as far as possible in this program, then that's something that we would definitely notice. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Well, and maybe we could double click on that just because I saw another question in the chat regarding the registration. So maybe we even want to pull up the selection criteria
Yes.
and then have that on the screen to speak to that, because I think that's a big question that I've been hearing.
Okay. On the notion of signing people up, I would also really encourage referrals. And I'll just show quickly on screen that we do have visibility of who has referred, because each guest receives a referral link. So we can see Miriam is doing an excellent job. And that might be something that we can incorporate into the participation aspect of the prizes. So what I'm showing now on screen is the docs for this hackathon. And I would like you to think of this as like the knowledge base for this whole process. You can keep coming back here to check what has changed, because we're going to be adding pages to this as we go. It's kind of a living document. It will keep changing. But I'll just click now onto the hub selection criteria, which was the request. And so this page outlines how we're going to be evaluating which hubs to bring forwards. And like I was saying, there's mainly two things that we're looking for in addition to completing the form in a timely manner. One is the quality of responses. There's a couple of questions in the form where you can give a longer response. A lot of the questions are very light, very, just collecting basic information to make sure that this isn't wildly out of the realm of possibilities. But there's a couple of places where you can give a longer answer. And I would really encourage you to try and convey what makes your hub unique, what makes it different, what gives it its own character, a soul even. And then the third one is the number of signups. We would like to have a lot of people come through the program, so we are valuing that. That's the main criteria by which we're selecting hubs.
Yeah, and I will say just, in terms of, the kind of numbers we're looking at, we're hoping to have, maybe up to 9 in-person locations, but all of this kind of depends on how many people sign up. And I think we're remaining agile in terms of what level of hubs get divided versus combined if there is kind of an in-person component. So that, I think, if I could add that, hope I'm not out of line in terms of what people can be thinking about too. So I would suggest, going in from the personal angle as much as you think you can gather. And then when we get to selection, there may be a process where we reach out and see, as far as an in-person group, where it makes sense to combine so that we can give you the funds to organize in person and kind of work with you all to see what would make sense ultimately.
Yeah.
All right. I see a hand raised, Mohammed, and I'll scan through the chat for some of the other questions as well.
Yes. Good evening, please. Am I audible, please?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So, Megan, I'll just a follow up to what my colleague asked you regarding this hackathon selection processes. I personally feel that it's a good opportunity for us, not just for Ghanaian local community members, but just for the continent at large as Africans. And this Africa Tech Summit will actually help to address some of the gaps that are plaguing our continent. When Madam Messi sent us invite, talking about this hackathon and this summit that's coming up, I wholeheartedly, saw that as a very big opportunity for us as African, because we have these two challenges that are plaguing our continent, and that's the knowledge gap, and then funding or resource gaps. And so, I mean, if we are not able to even bridge the gap in terms of funding, but at least at the knowledge level, we should be able to get access to certain knowledge and skills and experiences that will allow us to be able to build on Cardano. And so this is a very timely opportunity. And I think that our communities, we as local leaders should encourage our respective communities, because in the last funding round, I had a project that we implemented together as Cardano Ghana, where we onboarded a lot of developers from Ghana. But the challenge has always been how are we going to get the right knowledge and tooling to be able to build on Cardano. And so it has always been a very difficult thing to get the right resource personalities to be able to train these people. But this hackathon will address that, because once we announce it to our community, they should be able to sign up and express interest. Students that are Web2 developers, having passion to build on Web3 and just learn the knowledge, some of the languages they can use to be able to build simple solutions on Cardano, should be able to take advantage of this hackathon to do that. And so this is a very good opportunity for us as Cardano Ghana. Most of our community members are based in Tamale, Northern and Middle Belt, but I will send out mail to our community, and also maybe try to just pull up a virtual call together with CEDU so that we can encourage them to take this opportunity very serious, because we don't want to be left behind. I mean, when you meet with the ecosystem leaders and you try to talk about challenges, they want to know what you are putting on the table. At least Africa, we should be able to have a very workable and applicable solution on Cardano that is being built and owned by Africans, and that can entice the entire global Cardano community to Africa. We've all attest to the fact that recently Japan is so, was just buzzing with a lot of community activists, and almost all the, IOG team, Catalyst team were all in Japan to have a series of events. And so it just all depends on, it stems from their activism and some of the products and solutions they are bringing onto the Cardano ecosystem that make them so relevant to the space. So I just want to end this by trying to understand some of the sustainability initiatives that we have for our participants. At the end of the day, when participants in the hackathon are selected and they are given some prizes, how can we be able to guide them to launch these prototypes that they are going to showcase at the summit? How are we going to ensure that at least we can have some real world use cases coming up, and we can have it across some few countries in the continent, so that we can boost and start using it. And of course, let's not leave out advocates and ambassadors, because after building the product, it has to be marketed, it has to be used by the actors and everyone in the economy. And so it has to take the efforts of community leaders to be able to market it and relate with stakeholders, and so that they can adapt and embrace the tool and the solution that has been developed by these participants of the hackathon for us to make progress. And so that's just a little comment I have to put up, but generally, this is a good opportunity. I hope that we take advantage of it to its full utilization. Thank you.
Yeah, Mustafa, your words got a lot of reactions and emojis on screen. And Mercy, I saw your hand pop up. Did you want to respond directly to this?
I would like to. Thank you very much, Megan. Thanks to the Prisma team and everybody on this call. Very much appreciate. Mustafa, thank you so much for putting all our dreams and opportunities into those words. I want to emphasize that one of the key things that we really, really want to make sure that we hold and we move forward on is the sustainability. It's a huge thing for us. So there's a lot of work that is being done in the background. We are going to establish some partnerships. So, first of all, Remo started as part of this hackathon. Cardano Foundation has some opportunities for learning. Intersect has some, they are coming up with a lot of work opportunities. And this is in addition to all that has been said in terms of the winning teams, being in Nairobi, showcasing, and even after that, the kind of incubation style program that we are hoping to push forward. So we are on it. I think that what this summit does for us is to elevate this conversation from a sustainability perspective, because I think that one of the reasons that we're really sort of falling behind when it comes to our projects in Africa is the fact that we don't have that consistency. So that is what we are looking at. And I want to assure Mustafa and everyone else on this call that we will do everything within our power to, first of all, the top projects that get selected, to keep building. All the cohorts and hubs that participate, there will be a plan, as well as even pulling in developers themselves that don't win. We are exploring, like Darlington is on this call. He has been very passionate about the developer advocate program. I think Dan Baroka is in there. Recently, the Intersect Maintainer program came on. So we are looking at a very multifaceted approach to make sure that in Africa we are being consistent. Above all, for the entrepreneurs that want to bring in projects for their communities, but also for everybody else that is just trying to move this ball forward. Back to you, Megan.
Yeah, awesome. I did see Kit's hand come up as well for a question. Welcome, Kit.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, not a question. I just wanted to add a bit to what Mustafa said because it's something that resonates well with me. In terms of the sustainability, so yeah, I want to ask, or I want to like implore that, like he said, the things that we get, what we're seeing the Japanese Cardano community and recently India too, because IOG has been showing, they're showing a little bit of interest now in India because of what those guys have been doing now, is because of the fact that they've been building long term. So is it going to be a criteria? Can we like make it a criteria for like the ideas that will be selected? Like Mercy, I think what Mercy said reassured me like in very well now. So is it going to be like an inbuilt criteria? Should we try and ensure that a lot of these projects that would like be selected on the hackathon stage would be ones that, they should make something for ones that has this economic guardrails, monetization policies, they had their sustainability model down. So I just wanted to like suggest that we could, even if they don't win the hackathon, even if you might not win the hackathon, but if you've done your assignments with your ideation well, you could still like see opportunities from the teams that are coming on and the partners. That's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, well, and maybe I can speak to it a little bit and then we can get Prisma to weigh in as well in terms of, the journey they're going to be taking us through and the kind of mentorship and support that will be available to kind of once you're in the hackathon track and based on, where you land in there. But I think, all of this boils down to coming up with something and you might win, you might be able to take it in that respect, but you might also now have something that you can apply in Catalyst or you can seek, funding for somewhere else. So it's really meant to build those ideas that don't just die at the end of the hackathon. But hopefully we've instilled kind of a business model and maybe you don't get the funding right away from this hackathon to do it, but you've created maybe a business model that you can go and pitch somewhere else. Right. And we just finished kind of a catalyst round. So if we make calculations, right, next couple of months, maybe right around when this hackathon is closing, there's going to be a new catalyst round on the horizon. But there are other blockchains too that, offer funding and other organizations that offer funding to think about. I don't know, Prisma, if you guys wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I'll just I'll say a few things and then hand over to Delphi. From our side, what was resonating a lot with me is this idea of visibility, of making visible the work that's actually happening. What we've been setting up to bring into this process is basically a publication stack, tooling for you to publish the work happening on the ground. And that happens through the hubs. That's why the hubs are such an important and central role, because the hubs can be integrating the different projects that are happening locally and show it as one whole. And when we then think about that happening across multiple hubs at the same time, all engaging in this process, you can really see the whole network across countries. And I really just want that as an opportunity to sink in, that we can all live into that together over the next months. And we'll be doing our best to support you in that. And that's what I would say for now. That's what was coming up for me. The second thing is just that one of the ways that there can be a lot of resiliency introduced into this community and this network as a whole is if we kind of de-emphasize selection versus non-selection and see it more in terms of, yes, the selected teams are going to Nairobi, but the journey continues altogether. Just because you weren't selected doesn't mean you have to now drop off and turn away. What if you could see those selected teams as actually being able to bring some learning back into their places after they're done, or even learn across places between different hubs? And so, yeah, please, what I would offer is to open yourselves up to seeing this as a whole, one whole community, one whole network, and learning across that, even if you're selected to go or not. And yeah, I'll hand over to Delphi, who has a very ecological perspective for how this can look from that angle.
Thank you, Tabs. I think we said a little bit at the beginning, but I can go a little bit deeper on, we are using regenerative principles for this hackathon. So we're going to be learning from those communities. It's not that, and we said it, I feel I'm repeating myself, but it's not that we are going to be bringing a subject or a theme or a categorization and then looking from those lenses. But we are encouraging people to go and walk their communities, to speak with their neighbors, the people that they are close with, and try to find what are those problems, those challenges that are really present in the community, and how can we think about potentializing those challenges in such a way that we can sort of elevate the community and offer something that is really, really powerful, meaningful, and impactful, and that has a true essence of what that community is. And that's the learning process that will start in the enrollment, and that you will act upon in the hackathons. So definitely, it's nested in those communities. And when I mean nested, is connected. You're within your community, you have the power to impact your community and bring something that is completely different, and that people can see themselves in a different way, in a much more positive way. So this is very much part of our learning process, and the accompanying part or mentoring that we are going to be holding during this enrollment times, and then the hackathons. And at the end of the day, the projects that will come will have that sort of signature, which is very much the teams that are going to be coming up. That's why we always speak about emergent learning. It's always happening in the time that is happening, and we cannot foresee yet what are the beautiful ideas that will come up. But we are sure that many of those will come up. So yes, I don't know if I've answered more than that, but I hope this excites you, because it speaks true to each one of these communities that we are talking to.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting. I know some people are used to the 1 hour time slot for the forum, so I understand that some people are needing to drop off. We were planning an hour and a half for the session today, so if people want to stay on, we're staying. I do see another question in the chat that I think is relevant. I don't know if Darlington is around. I see her off camera, so maybe not, but question about certificate of participation. And I wanted to talk, maybe if you're able to talk about the Andamio learning journey that we're going to be connecting people to.
Yep, sure. So there's a community project that actually came out of Project Catalyst, believe it or not, that is now growing into a really good tool in Cardano that makes it so.
Well, you cut off. Maybe I'll introduce a little bit to give you time to. I don't know what's going on. But, Prisma's been talking about one angle of support that we're giving for this journey, which is more of the holistic side. And then we also need to incorporate more of the technical side. And that's where some of the more technical expertise and self-learning journeys and things like that come in. So what Darlington is going to talk about is really how we're complementing with this more technical learning. You want to try again, Darlington?
Yes. Am I coming through?
Okay. Yeah, you're back on.
So yeah, like I was saying, this product we'll be using is called Damio, came out of Project Catalyst, is now on its way to becoming a very useful, mature community built product. And the one thing and the good thing what that means for you that we're using this platform is that in addition to hopefully coming up with great ideas that you can turn into products yourself, that 4 to 6 weeks you're going to give us for your time for going through some of the supplementary material, all of your efforts will be recorded on the Cardano blockchain. So as you go through those courses, if you choose to do that, it will be something that you can prove in the future on chain that says, I took this course in this thing. And we're thinking about having tracks for technical people and non-technical people. So keep that in mind when you're speaking to your local community in your hubs.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I hope, it seems like I saw some feedback in the chat that the updates on the website, I'll just highlight, Tabs was sharing screen earlier, you can see there's a lot more content. We have the FAQ document also that we've been talking about that is available for some of the summarized responses to some of the questions we asked today. So hopefully that can clarify things, but I think not necessarily seeing any more questions. So feel free to raise your hand if your question hasn't been answered. I hope I saw some questions in the chat that I didn't specifically read out loud, but I thought they have all been spoken to at this point. So please signal if your question was not answered, if I missed it. All right. Well, we don't need to stay here if there's no more questions. I think everyone can use their time now to go on and register if you're not registered, or go in and finalize some of your enrollments, go through sort of answering some questions about your profile. That's really important for us to, be able to start thinking about who can form a team, or not team, sorry, who can form a hub, and get that process moving. Yeah, Mercy, jump in here.
Yeah, I think that Veronica sort of also put in the chat. Is it possible to have a quick walkthrough of the process? What are we talking about when we say registration? Can we quickly do that before maybe we jump off? I don't know if it's the Prisma team that will be doing that.
To.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can do it very quickly. So, like I said in the slides, there's a difference between signing up, which is basically you're at the door on the Luma page, and the enrollment process. So to sign up and contribute to the total numbers, which is really important for us to show, to bring cats back again next year, all you need to do is head to cats.wada.com, click register, and without leaving the page, you will be able to fill in select the ticket, and then fill in some basic info like your name, email, and answer a couple of questions, and that's it. Register, done. That then gives us an indication of the total number of people that we're engaging with this event. And then as soon as you've done that, you can then go a step further by clicking on enrollment here at the top, and you can see there's 2 stakeholder roles that we're accepting enrollments for: hubs and participants. When you then click through to selecting your one, you can then start the enrollment form. There's a little bit of guidance at the top, and it's quite short, should take no more than 5 minutes. And that's a more thorough start to your active participation in this process. We might use this enrollment form again at a later stage with a different form to collect different information once we're further down in the running order. But for now, those are all the steps.
All right, Tabs, I have a question. So if I am coming in as a hub and I want to register my hub, should I also register myself as a participant?
Yes. As a participant. I thought you were going to say as Luma.
On the Luma. No, sorry.
Definitely do both the Luma and the enrollment. As a participant, I think it's not necessary. The case where it would make sense is if you want to also join a team and work on a prototype. That would require you to work at 2 levels. And so it's down to you to consider if you can still be responsible to your role of a hub lead or as part of the hub team. I think it's possible. but it's something to bear in mind, because what you don't want to do is get so absorbed in the hackathon and forget, oh, I'm also meant to be representing the hub.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but how I see it is, there's hubs that are going to pop up, and only some of those hubs ultimately will be able to get funding to host kind of these in-person hackathons. So, in terms of the hub lead role, I anticipate that somewhat dissolving if your hub kind of can't be doing this in person because it gets grouped into a virtual atmosphere where kind of we're facilitating those. Is that the right way of thinking about it? And therefore, does that encourage maybe double registering as a participant just to cover if, you're not going to be running an in-person?
Yep. That would be, yeah, you could do that. If your hub is less established or then I would definitely encourage that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right. And this one of the reasons that we're putting the deadlines, so soon, it's right around the corner, is that we want to, be clear on some of these things, like so people can start organizing from the in-person perspective, et cetera. So I think some of these questions will iron themselves out in the details of once we actually see the enrollments and, can start formalizing some of this in terms of what exactly will be happening from the local perspectives. But I just, I'm getting those questions, so I just wanted to ask it publicly here so that everyone's kind of getting the same answer.
Yep, for sure. I appreciate it. And we will be, there's a question in the chat actually, which I mentioned I will speak to, which is about how can we keep in touch? Is there a Discord server? And this is a lovely question because I definitely want to stay in touch. So we haven't really formalized this yet, but we're going to be using Telegram group chats to do most of the direct comms. There is an invitation to a very general group chat at the end of every form, but I would like you to think of a group chat as the organizational context for that particular mode of participation. So there will be a group chat for every hub, probably. There will be a group chat for every hackathon cohort. And there will also be group chats for the levels above that, kind of everyone who officially enrolled and things like that. And these are distinct spaces. They have distinct purposes. And so we will be facilitating in those intentionally. And that's the best way to stay in touch with us. We're not using Discord. Aside from Telegram, there's the Luma blasts, which will go to your email and or phone, depending on your settings. And they are the main ones. Yeah. That will become formalized shortly. If you join the one Telegram chat that there is currently, which is linked at the end of the enrollment forms, is also sent through when you registered in the confirmation email, I believe. Then from there, we will be notifying people of any other spaces that open.
Mm-hmm. I just saw a question pop up in the chat in terms of participation rewards. The reason we don't have a specific number there is because we have kind of a total allotment of ADA prizes, and it depends how many people, how much we can give out. So that's intentionally not specific right now. Although that's another reason to formalize the numbers early so we can be clear about the total participants and what is therefore kind of being offered. But thanks for that question.
So there's another question in the chat of, are the hubs localized? Let's say people from Nairobi are in one hub and so forth. We touched on this a little bit before. We're really going for a bottom-up approach. So those group of people in Nairobi would need to register as a hub and say, we're the hub here. There's already a hub in Nairobi as far as I'm aware. So there's a role already being played there. You would need to work that out for yourself, how to navigate that. If you can justify enough differentiation to fill a different environmental niche and for it to warrant a separate hub, then maybe that makes sense. Maybe you're working on a different level. Maybe one is on the whole of Nairobi as a whole city, and one is really for this particular neighborhood, and that neighborhood has its own character, its own sense of identity. So maybe you want to register as a hub there. But yeah, it's more kind of coming from you and in relationship with the local context. So we're not going to say all of these groups of people, you're the hub there, because it's top down.
Maybe who asked the question? Samuel, is that answer sufficient? Does that check the box for you? Thumbs up.
It's a great question. We were also discussing this today. It's really at the heart of regenerative approaches to design and development. Yeah, so we'll keep revisiting that question and invite you to do the same. Cool. We got a thumbs up.
All right, yeah, awesome. Well, excited to see the boost in numbers after this exciting call. If anyone has, questions on how to, get here, I hope that the website can be a good resource to you. But of course, feel free to reach out to any of us. I'll put Samuel, internal Samuel, on the spot for our main liaison for the hubs network to contact with specific questions. And then look for, the Telegram chat for some more also going forwards. But I will remind everyone, so this was our second taster call. Our final taster onboarding call is tomorrow. Same time, same place, on Zoom, that is. So if you want to refer people, after this presentation, after what you heard today, bring some more people on so they can hear the information directly. But please come again because we'll be offering some new perspectives as well.
Yeah, I would offer a question just to complement what Megan has said there. Think about, what do I really care about? What do I really care is worked on? And see it as an opportunity to start working on that, and then think, who else would really care about this? Those might be some people who you could refer into the program.
Yeah, and maybe tomorrow we'll double click on that screen share where you showed the numbers, and we can see how it's changed from what you presented today and what happens overnight. I think that would be interesting too. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here. See you all tomorrow.